You can start lining up. Whoever wants to start this up.
Yeah, make sure my volume.
Oh. Guys are good.
Hey, George, exciting announcement today that fans are going to be able to attend the spring game. What's your reaction like, to really get that first feel of Illini Nation?
It's going to be awesome. It's Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football, first game back. I know the kids are really excited. COVID's been hard on everybody, so just to have people in the stands and us to go out and compete underneath the lights, I don't think I played a night game when I was here, so I think it'll be pretty cool to be out there with the guys. They've been working really, really hard, so I know everybody's excited about Monday.
You do have that knowledge from your time playing here. What has it been like, coming in at such a strange time? I'm sure you're feeling a lot of love on social media, but, to really get that first opportunity to kind of breathe in a live sporting experience that we haven't had in over a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time for me. Where I was coming from, it was a limited amount of fans, but I think it's good. I think it's more for the kids. I think they want to be in front of their parents and their peers playing and showing the improvement that we've made since the beginning of the spring. I think it's cool for our families, the ones that are in town, to be able to come back and embrace themselves in the community. So I think it's an awesome idea that Coach came with. Monday night, not a lot of teams play spring games Monday night underneath the lights on TV. So I think it's going to be a really cool experience for everybody and everyone involved.
Thanks, George.
Hey, George. Brian Hightower and Kamari Thompson are two guys we saw a little bit of last year that transferred in last summer. What have you seen from them, and what do they bring to the field for you?
I mean, both of them are really competitive. Brian's done a really good job making contested catches. Kamari's done a good job being consistent. And I think that's kind of the whole group. Every day we've gotten a little bit better at something different. And those two guys have been really, really, really good guys of just in terms of every day getting better at something. We're not where we need to be, but they're not making the same mistakes. And every day one of them is making a play with Donnie Navarro, and Carlos Sandy had an awesome play on Saturday. James Frenchie is doing a nice job. So I've been really pleased with just the day-to-day development of those guys as we've continued to go through the spring.
And you, now Tony and Brett have all mentioned Donnie Navarro. What were your initial impressions of him, and what has he shown you this spring?
I mean, Donnie was probably one of the first guys in my office when I got here, and he was sending me videos of him working out, and that's who he's been. I mean, he comes to work every day. He's very competitive. He handles his business on and off the field. So that's the one thing with Donnie, what you're going to get. And he's done a great job of just being the same guy every day, making plays for the quarterbacks and being ultra competitive. So I've been really, really excited to work with him every day.
Thanks, George. Appreciate it.
Coach, I'm curious about rotation. I know some of that will come from the offensive coordinator, but how deep do you like to go with your receivers? Do you want to have, 4 guys ready for a Saturday? Do you want to have 8 guys you can turn to? How do you see player rotation?
I mean, the rotation is going to, pretty much dictate what happens in fall camp. In my past, I've had 3 receivers that played every play, and I've had, last year we had 6 guys that rotated every other series. So I think the rotation is always predicated on the number of reliable and dependable players that you could put out there. Obviously, the more players we could play, the better. It throws more guys at the defense. It makes them tired more because usually the secondary doesn't rotate as much, and it keeps our guys fresher for the second half of games. But that'll be something, we're still trying to get better for practice 9. So that'll be something that we'll have to take care of once we get into fall camp.
And do you like having a number 1 guy? Previous wide receiver coaches have said, I'm still trying to find my alpha, my guy that leads everything. Do you look for that? Are you looking for the number 1?
No, I'm looking for good football players. Everybody has different personalities. What I look for is to try to get 3 guys out there. When the quarterback throws them the ball, we catch it and we make something happen. So I'm not worried about who's 1, who's 2, who's 3. I tell guys all the time, you got to check your ego at the door. And at the end of the season, at the end of the year, the stats are going to be the stats. But right now we're trying to find ways to catch the ball and win games and compete every day. So at the end of the day, whoever's out there, we all want them to be number 1s. You never send anyone out there say, hey, you're the 3rd option. So we all want everybody to think they're the number 1 receiver or tight end or running back. If the ball's in your hands, you're the number 1 guy, because if you carry the ball, you carry us all. And that's the most important thing in our program. So We just want good football players who will protect the ball and keep moving the chains that get us some points.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Hey, George. Another guy who's recently come to your room. I know we've talked in the past about Caleb Griffin coming in, but now with Marquez Beeston being in, as well. What have you seen from him, and how has he helped to maybe change up the room at all?
I mean, Beeson's an interesting guy. You know, I did some research when Coach mentioned it. He's very, very talented. He's very, very smart. I think that's the biggest thing in the meeting rooms. Like, he brings a defensive mentality in terms of understanding what the defense is trying to do, understanding what the coverages are. So he's been able to help guys see the field from a different perspective. I've really enjoyed working with him. So I'm excited to continue to see, you know, how he can add some depth to our receiver room.
I think what we were told was that he requested that move to wide receiver. What were the initial conversations like between you and him, as far as him telling you why he wanted to come over and what he had hoped to provide for that group?
Well, I think him and Coach B had a conversation, and I just think it was one of those where he saw an opportunity maybe to get on the field a little bit sooner, or just something that was more natural to him. I know he might have been recruited as a receiver here, then switched to DB. So I just think it was one of those things that the receiver position was drawing on his heartstrings. And the one thing that, you know, Coach B's done, and to his credit, whether it's a coach or a player, he's trying to get everybody in the best position to help Illinois win football games. And, you know, he saw Beeson, and he said, hey, go over there, give it a shot, and see where we go from there.
Thank you, George.
Hey, George, I'm curious, in this offensive system, ideally, what do you guys need out of that slot position? Is it someone who can, with speed? Is it consistency in terms of, just getting open? What's ideal for you guys there?
I mean, I think it's pretty consistent. You know, obviously, I think at any receiver spot, you got to catch the ball, you got to get open, and you got to be able to block. And I think now the way you get open is different from the slot to the outside, because you usually don't have as much press coverage. But at the end of the day, your slot receiver usually has to be the guy that controls the middle of the field, has to be fearless in terms of going across the middle and knowing he's going to get hit. Most of his catches are going to be contact catches in some type of way. So I think the biggest difference between an outside receiver and a slot receiver in our offense is just they have to be able to catch the ball in traffic. And, and that's the thing that we've been working on a lot this spring.
And then a guy whose name kind of comes up kind of regularly is Delvon Campbell. You kind of hear him here and there. What have your impressions been of him? What's he shown you in the first 9 practices?
Delvon, he's a big physical guy. He's playing outside for us, so he's doing a lot of the battling for jump balls and one-on-one balls, and he's done a nice job. I think the biggest thing that Coach B's challenged us all is just every day come back and be your best. And that's the one thing that he's tried to do. And that's what we've all tried to do at the wide receiver position. But he's done a nice job of continuing day to day, get better at things that we're trying to incorporate and understand in the offense.
Thanks, George.
George, how far behind is a summer arrival going to be with what you guys have implemented already this spring? Or can you feel like you can bring somebody up to speed that might arrive summer and could be an impact player?
No, I think anyone that's still coming in the summer can definitely help us. I think, with like how we're doing virtual interviews, we've been doing virtual conversations and virtual playbooks and talking to those guys and watching film. So I think the one thing about COVID is showing that you don't have to do a lot of face-to-face stuff. Like, you can use a technology that's out there to meet and have worldwide meetings. So I think the guys that are going to be able to come in the summer will have the same opportunities. They might not have the physical reps, but they would definitely have the mental reps.
You brought it up. I guess my follow-up is, what do you think will carry over from the COVID world that we're still living with? Scrap once we start to have more face and stuff can carry over as we go forward.
I think a lot will carry. Like, obviously everyone wants to be face to face. Like, we'd love to see our guys more and our recruits and stuff like that. But I also think that this world has opened up where you can use FaceTime, Zoom, and have conversations and meetings at non-traditional times. Sometimes when you want to face-to-face, everybody has to line up at the same time. But obviously we're having a Zoom interview at 4:15 and everyone's doing different things at different places. So it's just, at least from my mind, it's opened up the ability to recruit a nation. It's opened up the world to find a good player, a good receiver. And no matter what the time zone is, if they get internet, we can have a meeting and we can show them a slide, walk them through the facility and stuff like that. So I just think I wasn't very aware or in tune to the technology available till COVID. And it's kind of been awesome just seeing it and seeing how you can use it at a high level.
Thanks, George. Appreciate it.
You guys good? You got follow-ups? Anybody?
Yeah, I got a quick follow-up. I'm curious, this is philosophy based as well. Some receiver coaches and some guys planning out passing attacks like to split their receivers, and these are the split ends, these are my flankers, these are my slot guys, and they stay there. Others like to, this guy can move in this certain formation. How do you approach that? Do you approach 3, 4 maybe positions, or do you like to move your guys around?
I like to move them around. I like to kind of teach it holistically, big picture, get everybody to understand what we're trying to do and let everybody play every position. And then as we get into game plans, we're able to move people around to get the best matchups. Like, Donnie is a great slot receiver, but right now he's been playing outside receiver because he's so smart and he has the ability to function on the perimeter. So we've been able from week to week, just pick a guy and say, hey, you're going to go into the slot, you're going to go outside. Just because you never know what's going to happen, especially in this time. So everybody has to have some position flexibility. And it's like they say, the more you can do, the more you can play, the more positions you can learn and be able to function at, the more opportunities you're going to get on the football field. So a lot of guys have really tried to embrace that, and it just helps the knowledge and the growth of our offense, and it helps us grow faster by more guys being able to play more than one spot.
Got it. Thanks.
Hey, George, I just had a big picture follow-up. I know you really respect Brett, obviously, to come here, and I know you want to be a head coach someday. So what are the biggest things you've taken away from him about running a program, or what stood out most to you that you've learned over the last 4 months or so?
I think the biggest thing, and there's been so many, but just the way he communicates. I've always been able to talk to him openly without working with him, but just the way he communicates, whether it's a player that might have an issue or a coach, or I just learned, the way he communicates, and he's always saying, like, it's not what happens, it's how you react to it. And he's, we haven't had a game or anything like that, but I've just learned every day the way he communicates with our staff, our players, our support staff, and treats everybody with the utmost respect. Like, it's been awesome, and things I've tried to pattern myself after that, and just in terms of the way I approach people and talk to them.
Thanks, George.
That's all good.
Awesome. Mr. Tate, it's good to see you again. I haven't seen you in a long time. I'm disappointed you didn't ask me a question, Mr. Tate.
I got a question for you, George. You ready?
Already cut off.
How are you going to mesh your offense Monday when you're trying to conceal everything from Nebraska, and yet you want to find out as much as you can about your players? How are you going to work that Monday?
I think we might put in the wishbone. I don't know. I think the spring game is kind of, it's a balance, right? You're always trying to, it's another practice where you want to get good, but you don't want to show all your stuff. So I'll leave those secrets to Ryan and Tony. They can come up with those master plans. I'm just praying my guys catch it. So you'll talk to me after the game.
All right. Thanks, George.
Good seeing you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.